We have seen a systematic destruction and abuse of the Latka, and it's time now to ask Susan Jackson to come up here and defend the Latka. So Susan, please.
It was lovely. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm not going to reintroduce everybody. It's lovely to be with Gary. It always is. Morris and Epi. But this is a debate. Resolved. Unresolved. Why the Latka? 24 years ago, in November, I received a call at home from a man named Herb. He said, "Hello, Susan. My name is Herb. I'm the president of the Toronto Jewish Gastronomic Society." I said, "You're who?" He said, "I'm the president of the Toronto Jewish Gastronomic Society." I said, "What do you do? Eat?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "We come together for all the chagim, for all the holidays. We eat the foods of the holidays, and we bring a speaker." I figure it's November. Hanukkah is coming. Syrian, Greek, blood, guts, that's an easy one. He said, "Will you come?" I said, "Yes." I learned a very important lesson. Never say yes to a speaking engagement unless you know the topic. He asked me to speak on the cultural and historical significance of the potato latke. Well, let me tell you, I now know more about the latke than anybody sitting on this revered panel. I went to his house because I wanted to know who were the food Jews. I arrived and there were 40 families in his home. There were over 100 children running around his basement. And I wanted to know, who are the food Jews? And I did what apparently every speaker did. I put the story of Hanukkah in there while I was at it. And of course I was very curious as to who these people were. When I finished, I asked them a number of questions. I said, "Okay, so what do you do between Hanukkah and Purim?" There's not really much, just Tu B'Shvat, a couple of nuts. It's not so exciting. And he said, once a year, we do Shabbat. I said, And 9 months ago, last Shabbos, what did you do? He said, a man came and made for us 8 kinds of cholent. Now, if you have ever had one kind of cholent, a stew which cooks for 24 hours with enough beans to blow Bet Tzedek into Lake Ontario, you are aware that 8 kinds of cholent could kill a person. So I asked the president's wife, and she said, "You know, we were from totally assimilated homes. Really, we were Jewish. We knew that because our mothers mentioned it to us. We really knew nothing about Judaism, and that was fine. We grew up together, this woman and I. We went away to school together. We accidentally married Jewish boys. It wasn't on purpose. And everything was fine until we had children, not accidentally. And being Jewish, we realized something was missing, but we didn't know what. And I looked at my friend and I said, once a year, we used to go to my bubby for latkes. And that's the way we found our way back to the Jewish world." So the latka is a very important component of Jewish life. It is the continuity of Jewish existence today, and it brings us back to who we are. There are 3 genes that have been identified in the Jewish body: the guilt gene, the carbohydrate gene, and the cholesterol gene. All of these physical substances can be found in the potato latke. Guilt when we eat it, carbohydrates in the potato, and of course, the brilliant oil which provides us our cholesterol. Nature and history are on our side. And it's nice to talk about the intelligentsia, and it's nice to talk about Danish that are very fancy, but I want to give my children memories, tradition, and Jewish values. That, ladies and gentlemen, comes from the latke. It is also diverse and multicultural like we are. He talked about squashing potatoes and squashing potatoes. You can squash a zucchini. You can squash a carrot. And today we put fancy things in there. I know someone who cooks latkes with cumin. You can make them as hoity-toity as you want, but they are still the soul of the Jewish people. Too often people tell us that the latke is the poor relation. But I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the potato latke has saved us many, many times. You can travel all over the world, and for 8 days you smell the oil cooking. For 8 days we walk around grepsing. For 8 days we're sprayed on our back. We can't breathe. We had too many latkes. 8, not 1, 8 days. Food is important to the Jewish people. Heavy food is important to the Jewish people. It is like the American who went to England. And he went into a gourmet food shop and he looked and he said, "May I please have 12 blintzes?" And the man said, "No, no, no. We don't have blintzes here. Those are crepes." He said, "Fine, I'll take 12 crepes. Do you have lox?" "No, no, no." He says, "We have smoked salmon, sir." Says, "Fine, I'll have a pound of smoked salmon." "How about those latkes? Can I have a dozen latkes?" "No, sir, those are not latkes. Those are potato pancakes." Said, "Fine, I'll have a dozen. And could you deliver them to my hotel on Saturday?" "No, sir, we don't deliver the chazarai on Shabbos." Well, you know, it's the same wherever you go. It doesn't matter if you sound like this or you sound like that. It's still the chazarai doesn't get delivered on Shabbos. We may make them differently, but in the end, they're all the same. And the Latka is related, as we know, to an actual miracle. The miracle of the oil in the temple. Purim was looking for a symbol. What are they going to give you? A naket meidel? They had to find something. So they found a hat. Not even an attractive hat. Not even a hat with a feather. A hat, as he says, like this, like that. It's a hat. And the tradition goes on. The famous Raphael Finkel, in his article, Ritual Slaughter of the Latka, says, "Remember to salt the potato and leave it to drain for at least 24 hours. We do this in memory of Lot's wife Latka, who was turned to salt. Use a lot of salt in memory of Lot's daughter, Latta." There's a history, I didn't say it, Raphael Finkel said it. There's a history to the Latka that we cannot forget. And we must not forget that the Latka has saved our lives many times. Because the Latka, that carbohydrate and that cholesterol, in times of famine, we all know from our diets, from Nutrisystem and Weight Watchers, that carbohydrates and cholesterol digest slowly. And in Jewish times of famine, we survived because of the Latka. Now, I don't want to attack the Hamantashen. And Morris already alluded to it. But if I'm teaching values, memory, and history to my children, I have a problem teaching the Hamantashen because 50% of the time it is filled with the poppy seed. The poppy seed and all of its other offshoots are controlled by the drug dealers of the world. And we know that those drug dealers support and fund terrorism today in the world. My other problem, I must tell you, is the concept of image. I have a problem with a tradition whose biggest taiva is prunes. How do I promote prunes? How do I make my children eat prunes? How do I deal with my children who've eaten too many prunes? Hamantashen, a very, very large problem. So let me end with what Wikipedia says. Latkes, a potato pancake-like structure, not to be confused with the house of pancakes, and nothing that they would put out. In a latke, the oil is in the pancake. It's made with potatoes, onion, eggs, and matzah meal. Latkes can be eaten with applesauce, but never maple syrup. There is a rumor that in the time of the Maccabees, they lit a latke by mistake. And it burned for 8 days. What is certain, I will tell you, when you have your latke, you will burn for 8 days. And this is good.